Welcome back to episode 174 of the Brew Crew podcast. Unfortunately, and as you notice, it's just me this episode. JT happens to be on assignment, so all I've got to say is good luck, JT, and I hope you don't get eaten by sharks. On today's episode, we're only going to do one beer, but I'm pretty excited about this beer, and this beer came to us from Emmanuel. But let's go ahead and start with our first beer, and I'm just going to be drinking a Busch Light Apple, or a colloquially known a Blapple. It's delicious. This is going to be coming to you guys, all you Chuggalos, a day early, and I'm really excited about that because today is a day off for me. The first thing I want to talk about, and I was going through this weekend, and I was really debating if I was going to do an episode or what kind of episode I was going to do. Did I have anything to talk about? Which are a lot of themes that I have in life. And I wanted to go over some can packs. So I was arranging my beer fridge this weekend, and I commonly do it, just throughout the week. We keep other stuff in there, juice for the daughters, and we keep a lot of carbonated water in there that we drink throughout the week. But I like to organize, just the OCD in me taking over. And I have multiple different 4-packs. So this 4-pack is the traditional one that you see. It's got the really satisfactory carry handle, like when you carry it around the store and you're doing all of your other unimportant shopping because you already have all your beer. But here's a couple of other can packs. So this one came from Prairie Artisan Ales and a beer that we're going to do in the future. This is a plastic. This is very, very much like the old school 6-pack rings that they would always show you that would choke sea turtles or fish would get caught in. So this is a different style of the plastic. And I'm going to cut this, but, a couple of rings in it. But the 4th style, which I'm really excited about, actually comes from Drecker. Oh, and then this one, this plastic one, doesn't really have like a carrying ring on it. So you got to stick your finger through there, and after a while it starts cutting off circulation. And it's like using like the old school floss. Like you wonder, like, hey, am I going to lose my finger or appendage? There's no real good way to carry it. But on the 3rd style, this one comes from Drecker. And unfortunately, you can't really see. You can a little bit there. This is cardboard. So it still has like the satisfying ring carry here. And it busts through. So like before you pick it up, it's like that. And then you put your finger through and you carry it like this. But this is cardboard. It's still very resilient. You'd still have to, and it went blurry, but that's fine. You can just tear it. And I won't now because I want to save this for JT to get his feedback on it. But this came from Drecker. We've done Drecker before multiple times on the podcast. But again, this is cardboard with a little bit of artwork on it. Lets you know where it comes from. So you couldn't give this to your old brewery and be like, oh, hey, reuse these. So like with these, I can turn these into my local brewery. I probably have, 40 of these, and they can get recycled. They can get used again because there's nothing that, you just slam your can back in there, which is really awesome. This is going to get cut up, thrown in the trash. This one, being cardboard, can just, be tore up. You don't need the use of scissors or sitting there pulling on it thinking you're He-Man or He-Woman. So that's pretty awesome. So I thought, pretty socially responsible. And good on you, Drecker, for caring about the environment. That seems a little more sustainable. That's all I had for really current beer news. This Blapple's really good on a day off. So the beer I want to talk about today comes from, again, Chuggalo Emmanuel. And this is Zlatini Medved. This is a Pilsner out of Croatia. I don't want to do the bottle work, and I wish it's unfiltered, and I can see the camera's not going to do it justice, but I can see like waves of unfiltered wheat. It's just awesome. So I'm going to have to pour this in a glass, which I didn't get, unfortunately, but the microphone's going to work. So a little bit about Medved Brewery. Medvograd. It's out of Zagreb, Croatia, which happens to be the capital of Croatia, why you may be familiar with Croatia, you the Chuggalos, is the Game of Thrones filmed a lot along the coast in Croatia because a lot of the architecture and the design of the country wasn't touched very much during all the world wars, and they've pretty much left it very medieval looking, but very coastal, being on the Adriatic Sea. Again, this is an unfiltered Pilsner. It comes in at 4.4%. It comes in a 0.9 ounces. And you can find out more about them at the website. And I'm actually very excited about this website, so I want to make sure I get it right. It's Pivovara, so Pivovara, then a hyphen, Medvedgrad, so medvedgrad.hr. That's the country code for Croatia. And we'll put that link down below in the YouTube. And if you haven't, hit that subscribe button and please share the information with your friends. When you go to the website, though, you can't read the information because it's all in Croatian. But the one thing that you can take from the website, and unfortunately using this recording software, I can't record it, but I implore you to go there. The one thing you can read, and the one exciting thing about this website, is the fact that they actually have, unlike a lot of their European peers, they actually have a lot of bottle art. So everything on their website comes, this has got a cool bear on it. It's very, very simple. But there's other brews on there that have like distinct art, and it's very character driven. So this happens to be a bear, but there seems to be like a center point or a center character of influence, whether it be an animal or be a person, but a lot of artwork to it. So again, I implore you to go actually to this website and check it out. The other thing is, the only thing you can't read on this website is the kind of beer it is. So I'm just going to run down a few things, and you wouldn't expect this. And we have a couple of other European brews coming up. I was going to do a couple special beers today, but I want to do them with JT just because of the current events and everything that's being driven from these Ukrainian beers. So they have a New England Pale Ale, which is awesome. They have a Helles Lager, which you would expect for Europe, a Hoppy Lager, a CMA IPA. I have no clue what that is. The Pilsner that we're having today. And the couple that I wanted to go after was a Schwarzbier, which is a dark lager. In the United States, you'd be very similar to like a Sam Adams Black Lager. It's like a very Schwarzbier. They have a Punk Rock Lager. Who knows what a Punk Rock Lager is? I've never heard of that before. And another IPA. So that's awesome that if you're ever in Croatia and you're in Zagreb, you could go to Medvedgrad Brewing and get similar flavors to what you're used to, and not just like Pilsners or German flavored or German inspired type beer. So again, that's very cool. But let's go with the crack on this. The Zlatini or Zlatnin Medvedjed. I'm going to pronounce that differently every time. So I apologize, my Croatian Chuggalo friends. So clean glass. I just want to pour. And again, my light's probably very pale yellow. I'm not getting any of that like unfiltered action that I was seeing but very effervescent. And again, this came from Chuggalo Emmanuel. And again, we thank you, Chuggalo Emmanuel, for continuing to supply us with good and unique beer. Look at that. It's awesome. Smell very, very much what you would expect with like a European Pils. It doesn't mute or try to hide the ingredients to appeal to the masses. It's going to be a distinct flavor. Like in a blind taste test, you'd be able to like discern like, oh yeah, that comes from Europe. Very clean, very crisp, malingering European context to it with the wheat selection. Look at that, the bubbles still. I apologize for the glare. Eventually, I'll get better equipment, but that's awesome. So a couple of interesting facts. Like I was like, Croatia. What could I do that would remind people besides Game of Thrones with Croatia? So the two of the more famous people from Croatia. One, Nikola Tesla. You probably have heard of Tesla because of Elon Musk and his doings. But if you ever look up AC current, alternating current versus direct current, Tesla was a fascinating person. He's been depicted in multiple movies by David Bowie in The Prestige, and by the second individual that I'm going to talk about that's played him like 5 or 6 different times in his entire career is Raid Serjba. And you would recognize him from movies. He's Ivan Tridiak in The Saint, which is one of my favorite movies. He's been in Snatch, and he's the antagonist in Taken 2. At that point, you're starting to question the parenting skills when your daughter and your wife are taken. Again, this is a tasty beer. All right. As I pour like a jerk. So, off the top rope, this is a lot better than that Chisinau Blonda that we had on episode 170. And what did I give that? I just like this a little bit better. I gave it a fair score. So JT gave that one a 2.75. I gave it a 3. I'm at a 3.5 or a 3.75 on this one. I wish I would have got some of that unfiltered wheat that that just ribbons through it that's in the rest of the bottle. I even rolled it around a little bit just to like try to break it up, and that's a very common practice because they don't have the forced upon standards as much in Europe, where you can get unfiltered stuff in the United States, but you're going to get a lot more of the or a lot less of the refinement and the processing and the pasteurization that you would have here in the United States. Off the top rope, I'm going to be at a 3.5 on this beer. This is quite a delectable beer if this is what you're searching for. If you're used to like drinking, your standards, U.S. craft beer type beers, then this probably isn't going to be your bag. But if you're up for a little bit of an adventure, and again, I might actually try to grab some stuff maybe from like a World of Beer or a much bigger craft beer store. And I'm very curious on the European take on these New England Pale Ales and this other IPA, and especially this punk rock lager, which is Hladno Pivo. It's got some really cool art on it too, and it comes in at a 4.1. I might actually search this stuff out or ask Emmanuel where he got all these beers from. But again, this is a 3.5, and this is quite a good beer. And again, thanks for listening, Chuggalos. Hopefully you learned a little bit today, and you're enjoying your day off, or if you're getting home or working out, you can enjoy this episode. Please tell your friends, and remember, the 18th of March, it's a Friday. Sometime during that day, probably later in the day. Who am I kidding? We're going to do a live YouTube video, myself and JT. So you'll be able to ask questions and have a couple of beers with us and engage with us in real time. Until then, cheers.